What if I told you Disney's biggest animated hit was almost never made? This is the untold story of how The Lion King went from a project nobody believed in to a roaring legend that changed animation forever. It's a story filled with behind the scenes challenges, unexpected creative breakthroughs, and moments that would change the future of animated films forever. So let's step into the Pride Lands and discover how this king claimed his throne. In 1994, Disney released what would become the highest grossing, hand drawn animated movie of all time. But when production began, The Lion King was far from a guaranteed hit. It was considered the studio's B team project. The A team animators were working on Pocahontas, which executives believed would be Disney's next masterpiece. In fact, when the project was first pitched, many animators volunteered to work on Pocahontas instead, thinking a story about lions in Africa was too unusual, too risky, and too small to compete with the grandeur of historical romance. The original concept didn't even include Scar, the comic relief of Timon and Pumbaa, or the phrase Hakuna Matata. The plot was darker, more about raw survival and nature's brutality than about hope and redemption. But then came the opening sequence, an African-inspired sunrise set to a Zulu chant that exploded into a breathtaking panorama of the animal kingdom. The animators poured every ounce of artistry into those 2 minutes. Disney was so impressed they released it as a standalone trailer. Without a single word of dialogue, it captured audiences instantly. That moment alone turned skepticism into excitement. The Lion King's DNA is a mix of cultures and storytelling traditions. You can trace its roots to Shakespeare's Hamlet, a young prince whose father is murdered by his uncle, forcing him to wrestle with duty, grief, and justice. There's also a touch of Macbeth in Scar's lust for power, and echoes of Bambi in its depiction of the harsh realities of the natural world. From African folklore came the rhythm and heart of the film. The setting was inspired by Kenya and Tanzania's sweeping savannas and sun-soaked horizons. The filmmakers even traveled to Africa to study the land, wildlife, and light, capturing details from the rust-red earth to the way shadows stretch under the blazing sun. Names weren't chosen at random. Simba literally means lion in Swahili. Rafiki means friend. Pumbaa means foolish or lazy, and Nala means gift. Even the Zulu lyrics in The Circle of Life have real meaning, setting the tone for a story deeply rooted in African culture. To create the Pride Lands, animators didn't just imagine Africa, they studied it. They observed real wildlife, sketched from live lions, and analyzed how each muscle and bone worked in motion. A real lion named Zoe was even brought into the studio, letting animators capture the power and grace of a predator up close. Details mattered. Simba's kitten-like swats, Mufasa's broad, confident stride, Scar's sly serpentine movements, all were informed by nature. The lighting, too, was painted with precision, from the golden warmth of sunrise to the haunting blues of the elephant graveyard.
Do it again.
And of course, the voice cast made these characters immortal. James Earl Jones gave Mufasa an unmatched gravitas, a voice that felt like it had lived 1,000 lives. Jeremy Irons poured wit and venom into Scar's every word, and Matthew Broderick brought both vulnerability and strength to adult Simba. One of the film's most ambitious scenes was the wildebeest stampede, a turning point for both the story and animation history. This wasn't just a handful of animals looped over and over. It was a computer-assisted masterpiece that used a custom program to animate hundreds of unique wildebeests, each moving with its own speed, path, and reaction. It took over 2 years to perfect, and the blend of CGI and hand-drawn characters was groundbreaking for 1994. The result was a scene that felt chaotic, unstoppable, and real, a visual metaphor for the tidal wave of tragedy about to hit Simba's life. When Mufasa's fate is sealed, the audience, both young and old, feels the full force of loss. This wasn't just another Disney sad moment. It was a gut punch that defined the emotional core of the film.
Long live the king.
What a wonderful phrase.
But the Lion King also knew when to lift the weight from your heart. Enter Timon and Pumbaa, with a carefree philosophy summed up in 3 Swahili words, Hakuna Matata. Fun fact, this song was never in the original script. It replaced a slower, forgettable tune called He's Got It All Worked Out. The change transformed the film's tone after the stampede, giving both Simba and the audience a chance to breathe. Hakuna Matata became more than a song. It became a global catchphrase, a reminder that even in the wake of pain, joy can still be found. The Lion King roared into theaters and became an instant hit. It grossed almost $1 billion worldwide, won 2 Academy Awards for its music, and earned a Grammy for its soundtrack. Its Broadway adaptation, opening in 1997, became one of the longest-running shows in history. But its biggest impact was on Disney itself. The Lion King proved that original stories, not just fairy tales or adaptations, could dominate the box office. It gave Disney the confidence to take more creative risks, leading to other beloved hits like Mulan, Tarzan, and Lilo and Stitch. From a small team's side project to a billion-dollar cultural icon, The Lion King wasn't just a movie. It was a turning point for animation. It taught studios that audiences would love stories set outside familiar fairy tale castles, and that music, visuals, and storytelling could go beyond age, language, and borders. Even decades later, new generations meet Simba for the first time, still laughing at Timon and Pumbaa, still crying during the stampede, still feeling the thrill of that first sunrise. In the end, it's a story about courage, family, and finding your place in the great circle of life. And that's why The Lion King will never stop roaring.